Now, you brought up the subscription-based platform that you shifted over to, and I remember this happening, and I thought, oh my God, is this going to be tailored to me? Is there AI built into that somewhere?
There is. Yes, there is. In fact, since you're the AI queen, one of the first things we did is, we basically plug in all of our articles, all of our content that we've created, and we ask AI to label it. Does this fit? Is this content that would more so align with high D's, high I's, those that are the S's or the C's? And AI actually helped us label all of the content that we create on a day-to-day basis and make sure that it goes into the buckets for that customized experience.
This is everything they never told you about real estate with the AI queen, Carrie Soave, sharing the tech, tools, and lead gen strategies that top producers won't tell you about. Now, here's your host, Carrie.
Welcome back, everybody, to the podcast. I have a very special guest and new friend on my podcast today. It's Amy Somerville. She is the CEO of Success Enterprises. I was going to say Success Magazine, but it's actually Success Enterprises now. And thank you so much, Amy, for coming on today and taking the time. I know you're super busy.
Oh, well, I'm a super fan. So yes, I'm all in and super excited.
And for those of you watching instead of listening, you can clearly see right behind Amy, there's a ton of examples of the magazine, which is part of Success Enterprises. What else makes up Success Enterprises? There's the coaching, right?
Yeah, so we are the magazine. We have a speakers bureau. We moved into a membership model at toward the end of last year in October, like New York Times or Wall Street Journal. Instead of just getting a print subscription, you have a cultivated experience that is customized for you. You go into the portal, you take a disc profile, you tell us like Pinterest, what are some of your areas of interest, and we will curate the experience for you with all of our articles, all of our content. So you get the print magazine. We also have a digital magazine that is also kind of in between our bi-monthly prints. We have online courses. We have a community that is having conversation there. We have our first physical event. Really excited about that. That is coming up this year, August 14 and 15, super exclusive. I remember talking to you about it, Carrie, about a year ago or so, and had a podcast today with one of the guest speakers for that event, Ben Newman, who is a high performance coach to all of every 6 Super Bowl championship teams and or individual athletes, NCAA, PGA, all the sports teams, and then like massive on the Fortune 500 CEO coach list. So he's going to be there. Damon John is going to be there. Dean Graziosi and his wife Lisa are going to be there, and then our list just kind of keeps growing and growing every day. So we're so excited.
Oh wow, I want to be there. So sign me up. Where is it?
It's going to be in LA. Yeah, Los Angeles. We are only extending like 150 invites because it is that whole proximity is power thing. It is 2 days, small intimate group, roundtable mastermind. How do you take your entrepreneurial or personal journey, breakthrough to that next level? And we have the coaches and the successful talent who are going to tell you their secrets to success. So
awesome. Now, you brought up the subscription-based platform that you shifted over to, and I remember this happening, and I thought, oh my God, is this going to be tailored to me? Is there AI built into that somewhere?
There is. Yes, there is. In fact, since you're the AI queen, one of the first things we did is, we basically plug in all of our articles, all of our content that we've created, and we ask AI to label it. Does this fit? Is this content that would more so align with high D's, high I's, those that are the S's or the C's? And AI actually helped us label all of the content that we create on a day-to-day basis and make sure that it goes into the buckets for that customized experience.
You just gave me a really good idea on a GPT that I could build for agents who struggle with negotiations.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never taken a disc profile test.
You should definitely, I mean, it's part of the experience, and it is part of your EXP experience. That you go to mysuccessplus.com. In fact, we're now part of the Okta, so you could just use your EXP email address, and that is part of your value proposition. Your value add is access to success as part of your membership.
I love that. And honestly, Amy, I keep all the magazines that I physically get. I am a book reader. I want to read paper. I want to touch pages. Everybody is different. That is me just being a reader my entire life, and magazines. So I used to have a subscription every single year to Vanity Fair and Maclean's because I'm Canadian. So I had to have Vanity Fair, but then I also had to have Maclean's for Canadian business and politics as well. And I love reading magazines. And every time I fly and I go away somewhere, that's where I read them and I catch up on them. And I sit there and I make notes in my phone and my notes app about who I need to follow, and I need to learn more about this person. And it's time that I've had to like block out, because Success Magazine isn't real estate focused, it's business focused, right? So it's time that I've had to block out for my own business's growth, if that makes sense. It doesn't quite fit in with the day to day because I am so focused on real estate, but it's going to become a bigger part of my life, more generalized business, because I'm starting a whole program for businesses. We're in 2 weeks, which is super exciting.
Because, it is exciting. Congrats.
Yeah. Whether you're a real estate agent, you own your own business, or you have a Medi Spa, we all get clients the same way. We all deal with very similar struggles and obstacles in our businesses. The only difference is the target. I feel like that's the only difference. Yeah.
But the driver is similar, right? So yeah, I think very strongly in the leadership world in real estate most of my career, and Success Magazine was my mentor in business and personal development. So even when I went from independent contractor to full-time employee, the leadership principles, the self-development principles, the mindset principles, the take care of self principles, all of those applied regardless of what business I was in and whether I was running my own show or not. I do also happen to believe that you can never take the entrepreneur out of the gal. So whether I have worked in corporate positions or not, like that's still that drive to prove the concept, to achieve and exceed on the goals that you set. Like that all is still very much there and ingrained, as if my life and my livelihood depends on it. You can't take that out, right? Like there's no I'm an employee now, and this is what I don't think once you've been there, once you've got an entrepreneurial spirit, that is what drives your entire, thinking, mindset, processing on a regular basis, I would say. Your strategic involvement. And so Success Magazine was always there for me. And it was what I loved about it, even when I was just so heavily focused in one lane of real estate, is that I did have to translate a little bit. Right? Didn't say, oh, Amy, this is how you're going to generate real estate leads, and this is conversion, and this is how you have an open house. No, it was like, okay, when you're reactive all day, giving everything you have to demanding customers and clients, how do you make sure you don't bring that home with you?
Yes.
They don't need to know my business, right? Or what I'm doing day to day, but they get me, right? And so, yeah, when given the opportunity to come over and lead Success, which was my mentor, it was like the ultimate.
I was first introduced to Success Magazine at EXP when I joined 3.5 years ago.
Wow.
And there is so much value for you guys. If you have not taken advantage of your free access by now, you need to. This is my last flight right here. These are the notes of my last flight, Damon John. And then it gives me ideas into my own business, and then I get an idea for my own business, or I make a note of somebody I need to follow and learn more about because I found them really interesting. So much value. So
thank you.
I love it. I'm a huge fan.
The new one is so great.
Oh,
Mel Robbins on the cover. I've worked with her in a previous life as well. And so to be able to be her first real cover with her release of the Let Them Theory was like, dream worthy stuff. We got out there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have not seen her since I was very pregnant, I think, with my youngest, who's now 12.
wow.
So that's a thing. But it is like the community just kind of ebbs and grows and flows with you. And they all know each other, right? Like they all know each other and they work together and they have the same belief systems and the same drive and and I don't mean like their strategies are very different, but they complement each other and they're supportive of each other. It's a unique space.
Yeah. And just the timing, she's everywhere right now. Let Them is on every post that I open on Instagram or Facebook. It is so hot right now. So that brings me to my next question, which is look at all these rock stars behind you. Like, who did you totally fangirl over? Which one of these absolute legends did you fangirl over?
So I was cleaning out my office. So I have the stacks and stacks and stacks of old subscriptions well before I came on with Success. And then I kind of separated, okay, who have been our covers since, in the almost 2 years that I've been lucky enough and honored enough to be part of this group. And a lot of them, right? I fangirled over a lot of them. A lot of people think that while I am part of the decision-making process and maybe final call of like who we put on and that kind of thing, it is very much, our editor-in-chief, Carrie Lee Brown, she is an expert in the space. I brought her on, knew her from a previous life. And again, when given the opportunity, she was my first call. Before I even started Success, she was my first call because of her history with magazine. And she's also Canadian, by the by. And so she comes in with a wealth of experience, and her expertise in interviewing the celebrities, I feel like is unmatched. And I'm not gonna go in and botch that up. On the other hand, she gives me the honor of interviewing those in the personal and professional development space, which is my jam. So Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins were like both ultimate experiences for me. Two people I've worked with again in lives past, or even just been like, I've said to Mel, I'm like, this is real awkward for me to sit here and interview you as a mentor who doesn't realize that in the last 12 years, you've still been, actively one of my personal coaches, whether you know it or not. Right. And then worse, right before the interview, I'm like, okay, are you ready to do this? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this in front of you. If you've never read the 5-second rule, that was her first gig and her first book. And it was something she, shared in her first TED Talk, which, made her go viral and all of a sudden massively on the scene. But it is you count down backwards 5 to 1 and you just execute, you take an action. So she's sitting there and I'm getting ready to interview. I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this in front of you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we are sitting here at this, it's like, that's how I still use some of her most simple concepts in my daily life, and didn't even think about how weird it was going to be when I had to do it in front of her. So I fangirled over because she's also just a down to earth, amazing human being, and speaks my language. It's not, it's not pontificating. It's not making things too complicated. It's just like, it's so simple. It's so easy. And thank you, because that is how much capacity I've left in my brain at the end of the day. So I need something, memorable and that I can dive into. Tony Robbins, gosh, that was an interview for the books for me. I got lost in the questions with him. I started out very, very nervous in interviewing him. Again, like he's kind of the grandfather of personal development and the space that I respect and love so much and has done so much for people I care about, that I was pacing around beforehand like I do in my panic zone before speaking. And the camera crew was like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yep, fine, just fine. Everything's fine." And he came in like just a regular, normal, loving, caring human being. And we had a conversation that at some point I could see, editor-in-chief like, "Hey, wrap it up." Like it was like, we went a long time. I didn't want to stop talking. He's an amazing conversationalist. So I would say I still fangirl over the personal, professional development folks meeting. So I do get to sometimes I'll select if it makes sense for time and what we've got on the docket. We'll go to shoots to just kind of understand and learn and develop a little bit more my understanding of the differences. I think Wilmer Valderrama was one of the coolest. Again, same kind of deal. Walked in the kitchen, in between photos, walked
Yeah.
in the kitchen, having a conversation with me about my travel blender and, bringing protein shakes along when I travel, and just like, like I've known him my whole life. So I would say that I had an expectation for him, and he blew it out of the water in the fact that he is just such a lovely, genuine, normal human being who is just so proud of being in the States and, his journey up, coming up, and what he's been able to do for, we'll just say, the entertainment.
Yeah. Now, that being said, you've had obviously like Tony Robbins. I feel like he's the ultimate.
I do too. Yeah, he kind of is. Yeah.
But is there somebody that you still want to have on that you haven't had a chance to connect with yet?
Yeah, definitely.
Who is that? Who is it?
I mean, I feel like I would love to interview David Goggins. What's funny about him as a personality is my husband first brought him to me and was like, "Oh my gosh, you're going to love this book. You're going to love this, this audiobook." And it started out, what felt to me was like, oh, it's such a heavy masculine energy. I'm not sure I'm going to connect.
Yeah.
And then I did. Right.
Really?
Like, I think it would be amazing to interview him. James Clear, author. I feel like Atomic Habits author. I would love to interview James Clear. There are some of these people that are just like hard to, that's not their everyday jam. They're not super interested. Simon Sinek. I would love to interview Simon Sinek. I think we're working on all these people, by the way. When I say I dream of them, it's not like, oh, I just put it out into the ether. I'm hoping that I'm manifesting in this conversation with you. Hey, Amy, yes, this is Simon Sinek. I would love to do a podcast with you and love to do the cover with you. But those three for sure are top.
He wrote a really important book that honestly, I read it twice. Is it Michael Singer? He wrote, what does he write? What did he write? It was Oprah's book. Oprah promoted this book heavily about manifestation.
Not Jay Shetty.
No. It's like Michael Singer. No.
Okay. I'm looking it up. I'm going to look at it.
Right? I feel like Michael Singer. I love the I love the Untethered Soul.
Oh, yes.
What about him?
Let's do it. Yes, please. If you've got a phone number.
I'm going to find him for you.
I'm writing down.
I thought that he was that was the first spiritual book that I really ever read outside of the Bible, right? And it made such an impact. It was outside of my wheelhouse at the time. I haven't always been into manifesting my reality, right? It made such a difference in my life. And it was like it was a big aha moment for me. I would love to see you feature him.
I would love. I'm. As soon as we get off the call, I'll call the team and see if we have any access to his management team. Yeah, I think funny enough, I think the word manifestation is a space. It goes one or two ways. Like people are like, oh my gosh, that's so woo woo, or other people are like, no, I'm totally into it. I think when I think of manifestation, for me, it is just living intentionally, right? Yeah. Like not just waking up and going through the movements and being reactive to every minute of your day and the chaos and the anxiety, and then, barely pulling it together at dinner and, waking up the next morning and doing it all again. It's like, okay, like this is the intention I'm setting for my day. This is the intention I'm setting for myself, for the energy, for the outcome, for the what have you, and not just being a participant in your life, right? Like actually driving it, not watching it happen, but like making it happen.
Yeah. And I think it's also, for me, it's knowing my power and really, really living inside my power and understanding, like, I am so aligned. Sometimes it's scary because I'll just have a casual conversation with my team about something that I think should happen. And then a week later, that same team member is like, you're dangerous. Look what's happening right now. You literally just put it out there and you are so in tune with your power that you get everything that is meant for you. And I
had that, like how I woke up this morning was I'm not in a great headspace, and I'm married to an amazing soul, as are you. But we can have these conversations where he's like, look, how are you going to get out of your funk? How do you change this energy? And I'm like, I don't really know. And I like trying to figure out like how to shake it and what to focus, and all the tricks and tips that I provide other people, like it just wasn't working for me. And I got like 3 texts out of nowhere in a row that reminded me of where I am, how grateful I am, where I'm headed. And then another that was like, hey, can I talk for 5 minutes? Can you talk in 5 minutes? And I'm like, yeah, that's really weird. I was thinking about you yesterday, right? Like those moments that I'm like, weird. Yeah. Here's a business opportunity. You came up because I literally was holding your book in my hand last night while cleaning out my office. And this morning, out of nowhere, you text and like, there's maybe a business opportunity. I love it when that happens. I love it when the universe is there. And that, yeah, to your point of like, wow, did I do that? Well, I did, right?
We did it.
Yeah.
We totally did it. I love this. And can I make a suggestion? And this might, I don't know how you feel about this. I know you're definitely open to AI, but I feel like programming your AI to think and react as maybe some of your favorite thought leaders, and then having conversations with it when you need it.
So after our last conversation, have I told you yet that I created an Amy Somerville bot?
No.
Yes.
Tell me all about this.
So I think I told you, like, I was just very casually, and I don't know, when people would say, well, I built a bot or whatever, I'm not even sure I understood what that meant until I talked to you. But it was like, okay, well, I can see the benefits. Here, I've written an article, edit this for me. Or did this, I want to make sure that this hit home with these areas. Do you have any suggestions? Whatever. I could see where it played into making my life easier, making my time more efficient. But I think I shared with you, I'm like, yeah, I kind of bounced back and forth, like, what do you think of this? But it was general, like just kind of generally in chat GPT. And I was like, I literally want to have a conversation with myself. So I built a GPT and I didn't know that it was as easy as it was. Glenn Sanford's like, let me just show you. It's easier than you think. And I'm like, and I just started feeding it all of my writings and podcasts and video content and snippets and social posts. And like, this is Amy Somerville's voice, right? So when I want to have a conversation with you, like right? I don't know how to explain that, but it's kind of like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What impact do you think that, like, let's brainstorm this. And instead of taking up other people's time or sitting in a space by myself and putting the pressure on, like, no, think outside the box, think differently. How do go bigger? I can actually say that to myself. Go bigger, go bigger, go bigger. I want it like bigger than that. And then push myself in that space. Like, could I actually do that? Is that really an opportunity? So yeah. Or else even just to like, I hate to say this, but like check mark some things like, have you tried this? I'm like, yes, I have. Thank you. I'm on the right track, right? Thank you, Amy. But I appreciate it, but already been done.
So wild. So this brings me to my new creation, which is, okay, so ChatGPT has a new $200 a month pro version. And attached to it is a lot of automation, but that's not why I got it. I enrolled in that because of its deep research. And I think you would really appreciate this because you're just a career student. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, always. Yeah.
So being able, and this ChatGPT will literally take up to sometimes 30 minutes to do a complete deep dive on a subject for you and then create a massive report with citations and everything. And on the right-hand side, while it's running all of this, you can see the questions it's asking to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And like it's pulling content. So I did a deep dive on you, obviously, and it said, okay, I found this. She loves quotes about female leadership and influences from Authority magazine will be incorporated along with initiatives and AI-driven coaching. But then it's like, now I'm looking for her real talk biweekly chats. Okay, this is what I found. I can see it. And now I need to apply this to what you're asking me to create, which is maybe like a stream of questions for her on this podcast. You can watch it think, which is super cool. So what I did was I did a deep dive into the most innovative and forward thinking CEO, CMO, FO, and COO in the world. And once it had given me a detailed report on all of those roles, I created a GPT out of it.
Nice.
Because I feel like everybody needs coaching.
Mhm.
Everybody needs an advisor. And sometimes we don't have the funds or the access to what would best, suit us, what we need at that time. So I felt like this is maybe a substitute for those who can't afford, $100,000 a year coaching or even $20,000 a year coaching, or for people who don't even know where to look, your own personal advisor. So that's what I created since we've last spoken.
Love that. Well, and the interview piece, I think I might have shared with you that, there every once in a while, like I'm asked about, creating content on a particular topic. So it's not a topic I come to the table with and like, oh my gosh, I know what I'm going to write about this, or I really want to share this, or I really feel like this is going to hit and make an impact. Somebody says, hey, would love for you to write a piece on or put together a presentation on blank content.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times that I'm like, I don't even know how I feel about that. How do I feel about that? And I could sit for a long time and ask myself questions and like, okay, if I pretended I was interviewing somebody else about this topic, what this look like? And then I was like, oh, Amy chat, interview me on this topic so that I can create something that connects and is impactful. And it asks me questions that I wouldn't normally ask myself.
And that is so perfect. And that is really harnessing the power of AI. It's not to create listing descriptions for you or write articles for you. That is not the purpose. It's to turn you into an absolute superhero to your boss, your colleagues, your family, like I feel like it just accentuates everything about you if you're using it properly. I've got a coaching client who talks to it every day like a journal instead of journaling.
Yeah,
And
I think that's a brilliant idea.
yeah, just think about how much, instead of worrying about the repercussions of using AI, use it while you can to benefit yourself and your life. Let's live in the moment where we're at right now, because there's a lot of possibilities of what could happen and what could go wrong. Let's take advantage and really harness what we have right in front of us to its highest and best use, especially for realtors listening out there. We're always supposed to evaluate properties at highest and best use. If you're in commercial, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is the same thing. You should be doing this in your life, right? And I love that you are embracing AI. I also want to ask you how you feel about AI in terms of media. And, there's a lot of mixed opinions about AI in the media, about accessing data and plagiarism and training off people's written words that would be considered plagiarism. And then there's, some publication, I don't follow very closely which publications are suing OpenAI at this time period, but I know there's some that are for and some that are against. What is your stance on all of this?
I think, the quote that I've heard since the beginning of time in AI, which really is about a year and a half, 2 years, almost 2 years, right? Not that long, is that the value of AI is in the prompts, right? In media, I mean, you can, I can, we all can spot AI from a mile away. Right? There's AI language, there's AI formatting, there's AI approach, there's AI language, there's AI bias, there's all of those things that it sticks out at this point for me, sticks out like a sore thumb. And I think for those who are professionals in the media, they can see it too. If they're not using the right prompts, meaning I absolutely value the creative brain, individual writers, but to think it's just from my perspective and not think bigger or global. Yeah, that to me is what the value of AI is how do you get diverse perspective? How do you get opinion? How do you make sure that the impact that you're having is what you intend to do? You can certainly put that through a whole bunch of different people, but with the efficiencies of AI, you can get that kind of feedback. I mean, I've fought with my AI bot, like, really? That doesn't make any sense. I don't feel like, great point, Amy, blah, 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 right? Like you have those kinds of conversations. I think the sad part is with automation, with online marketing, social marketing, that kind of thing. If we can be more efficient and be more impactful and provide more content and reach more people because we leverage AI to go through and scrub what we have and put out there, when it's relevant and when it's timely and that kind of thing, I think that's great. I do have an affinity, clearly, for the creative mind, for the personal professional development experts and specialists in their field. I think it is something you want to share with the world. But if then in exposure to it, you can provide it to more people and have that content land for more people and provide benefit to more people, there's a good balance. Good balance.
Answer. That is such a good answer. So this brings me to what I didn't know about you. I didn't know that you were in real estate before. I didn't know that you worked for Remax and that you actually went to school for journalism before any of this. And I just want to say, you might be the perfect role model out there for women who have gone from, you had your vision, you wanted to be a journalist, to getting into real estate and getting into an industry that you didn't have any plans to get into, I'm assuming. And then look where you ended up as the CEO of such a powerhouse enterprise, right? So did you manifest this? Like, what would be your advice to women in real estate right now? Because that's our audience right now. If they're feeling like, they've gotten off their path somehow along the way.
Oh gosh, I think that's a really good question. And some of it is like, did I manifest this? I was always surrounded by success magazines. How did this come to be? From a journalism perspective, so it started out in public relations, right? Like I wanted to help people get their voices heard, get their missions out, and funny enough, that ties to real estate, which, I didn't see it at the time. I actually went from real estate and then into politics, which is weird. And added kind of some marketing arm to that. And my husband was in real estate and he said, why don't you come join me and do that? You're already doing all of my marketing for me on the real estate side, all of my public relations and marketing. Why don't you come and join me? And I said to him, I'll never forget this. I was like, no, I don't do sales. And he was like, Amy, you're putting your customer first, helping them get exposure, sharing their value out into the world, helping connect people to, a need to a value proposition and a solution. That is sales. That is real estate. It can be politics. It can be public relations. It can be journalism. So I think, being too literal about where you thought you were and where you want to be. But the other thing is, I think soul searching is always an interesting thing. I was an executive, on the Remax side for a very long time. And I love, love, love the leadership role. I believe that is one of the reasons I'm on this planet, and certainly love the personal and professional development world and the idea that they would come clashing together. Did I manifest it? I don't know. But I think that there are probably opportunities that you are surrounded by every single day that you don't recognize where it can lead you. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So I'm an executive. I'm consulting franchise owners, and I was offered the opportunity to lead training and development of franchises, which required me to teach on stage, which is, then like I sit in a room and Amy, say your name in your favorite book. And I couldn't remember that I'd ever read a book in my life, like that kind of anxiety for speaking in a crowd. And I'm like, you guys are crazy. Why would you even be interested in having me teach people? Like, I'm not going to get on that stage in front of all these people and like create content. And they're like, you are consulting people individually all day. You'd just be consulting as a group. Well, I turned it down probably 3 or 4 times and over many years. And it wasn't until my husband, and we're like, passing in the night. We had a child that wasn't, we were like, oh my gosh, how do we be parents? And then we were both traveling like crazy. And it was one of those points in our lives that we really looked at each other and said, someone's got to give. Like, we are not liking the lack of time that we have together, the lack of time we have for a family. This is not what life should be about. Someone's got to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying, babe, here's a weird thing. You know, the training department has been asking me to do training, and I've been turning it down for years. Like, I don't know why that, but at least it would keep me local. Maybe I'll just take one for the team. I will never forget that. I'm going to take one for the team. I was on a trajectory in the development side of the company, and I took a step back and down to go to training. And I was taking it for the team. And I will tell you, I would not be sitting in the chair that I am right now if I did not take that leap of faith and learn that it was my absolute passion. So I would just say, don't take it too literally. If you think, gosh, this has been my passion and I've taken a little bit of pivot and maybe I've lost my way a little bit, maybe dial it back to the characteristics, the feeling, what's happening. Why do you want that so bad? What's happening when you're in flow and you feel full and you feel like you're at your highest and best? Back to that. When you feel like you are at your highest and best, what's actually happening? And how can you translate that in other opportunities? Because it may not be in the package you think it is, but it is there. And yeah, you're putting it out there. When you figure out what that is, mine was leadership. Mine was providing stories that helped impact people in a positive way, creating content that would empower people. And then it all just kind of came together. And that position that was never a position that was ever going anywhere in the history of the company, and then I grew it and grew it and grew it and grew it and ended up here. So
just reframing, telling them just sit back and reframe why you thought you would be going a different direction and try and find that in what you're doing right now. And it'll renew your passion for it and your fire for it again as well when you can find that. And that happens all the time to the best of us, right? We kind of lose that fire a bit, but I love it. My phone went off there. Thank you so much, Amy. Honestly, you are always going to be one of my favorite podcast guests. So I hope to have you back a couple times a year if you
love to.
Me, so that we can stay up to date on what's going on at Success and what you have for us in terms of like leadership coaching. I know you're doing right now a program for leadership. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, that started out in I wanted to pay homage to success in the leadership journey that I've had. And I started building, content of these are the experiences and the challenges and the obstacles I've faced in my leadership journey. And these are the things that taught me so much and moved me to the next level. And, my leadership journey wouldn't have led me to here without these little components and elements. And I started building it and I'm like, who gives a shit? Pardon the language, but who cares about Amy Somerville's leadership journey? I'm like, I have some really great, a lot of people I think can relate to some of these stories and triumphs and moving forward, especially, leadership, but also oh my gosh, just self-doubt and imposter syndrome and all the things we all go through. And here are the stories and it's okay to feel these things and we can connect over these things. And these are some of the tools and resources and great books that I've read that help me, these concepts that have helped me get DISC being one of those, help me be a better leader. And in the, okay, but so, who would care about that? I was like, well, so what do we have at Success that nobody else has access to? Incredible people who have also been great partners to us, great success friendlies who are unbelievable coaches, experts in their own vein. And so I called them all up and said, hey, I want to do a course. Is it possible that the stars would align for you all to be a part of each day of the course? It's an 8-day, in the live version, 8-day, 90-minute to 2-hour session that is tactical, practical, philosophical, and then lab. So we call it leadership lab because I think back at school and I'm like, yeah, the lecture's great. Love your stories. Sometimes I connect, but the lab, when you really pull in some of that, okay, let's do a scenario play out. This is what's happening. How would you respond? How would you react? How would you use these tools? And so that kind of weaves all the way through too. So we had Oh my gosh. We have a SEAL Team 6 commander who was part of the Osama bin Laden, piece. And he has built this entire foundation with Simon Sinek is one of his closest friends. Leadership track focused on our personal attributes. So he joined in. We had a DISC related expert. We had the creator of NPS, Net Promoter Score, who also happens to be a board member of EXP. We had 2 personal coaches, Cortland Warren and Rocky Garza, 2 just amazing mindset and leadership coaches. We had a FBI hostage negotiator. So like you really get to like, okay, well, if this is a scenario, how would I play with this? But walk away with multiple personal assessments, because that is how we learn to lead, is how much can we be willing enough and vulnerable enough to learn about ourselves, recognize where we come from, how we need to adjust to connect with other people in the most effective way. The differences between delegation and empowerment and what that looks like and feels like when you are delivering it, and the times to use those kinds of things. How important it is to build trust in leadership and what the components are of trust. And if you are focused on your own self-interest above anything else, that trust level quotient goes way down. So lots of those kinds of practical, tactical, here are the tools, here are the resources, get to know yourself. And it was a live journey. We've now, it's recorded. And so now it is available evergreen through Success Plus for engagement. And then, it doesn't have to be over the course of 8 days. You could do it whenever you want, play at your own time frame.
I love this. And are you ever going to have it live again, or is it going to remain evergreen?
I would love to do it live again. Literally, the stars did have to align to get every single one of them for 8 consecutive days. But I think the hope would be that come this fall, we could find some other players, and then, you could kind of mix and match your favorite lab experts or technicians or celebrities, so however you want to refer to them, coaches, specialists, and you could kind of pick your best of the best.
Yeah. And obviously this is for the team leaders out there when we're talking to real estate agents, but solopreneurs can use this as well and could benefit from something like this as well. So I urge you to check it out. Again, if you are with EXP, you have all of this at your fingertips. Okay. Yeah. You're already a part of this. Plug in. I feel like those who plug in benefit the most in life, in anything in life. And if you're not at EXP, then like, why aren't you?
I have a friend you should call.
And Amy, I absolutely adore you. And I thank you so much for showing up today for me and for all of our listeners today. And I can't wait to do this again.
Oh, definitely. Thank you. Anytime. This is super fun. Your audience knows how much you bring to the world, not only in joy, but innovation and thinking outside the box. And so conversations with you are always just so fun. Have me be thinking like, oh my gosh, what do I do next?
Thank you, Amy.